Hey guys, bit of a quick update on Katelyn Davis's case, and I wanted to thank everybody for all the really nice supportive messages that you guys have been sending regarding an issue dealing with her and this whole case. And I have pink hair now, as you can see. I took all of my extensions out for the summer, so I'm giving my hair a little bit of a break. But I wanted to and I still have really bad allergies, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on what I have been working on behind the scenes regarding her case, and updates regarding her case and some news regarding her case. But again, everything has kind of been, put to the side because I've had other things come in this week. But I wanted to just sort of give you a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to be talking about with that update. A lot of people did show me the update that the Cedartown police gave regarding her case, to say that there is still an ongoing investigation happening. And ever since, I think about 2 weeks or so ago, I had another family member reach out to me wanting to talk to me off the record, which is fine. It's totally fine. And it's somebody from Katelyn's mom's side of the family, which in my opinion, they have been not as open and forthcoming in this entire case for whatever reason. And I wanted to just kind of do this is going to be all my opinion, just commentary. I'll get down into the nitty gritty with everything else that I know regarding Katelyn's case, but this is sort of, a bit of I just wanted to have a stream of consciousness and talk to you guys about a couple things that I have been noticing and things that I have been made aware of, and just reassert the reason that I'm covering her case, and just talk about it. So if you are here for, any specific updates, just stay tuned. I'm working really hard. I need to get better, but I promise it's on the way. So this is just sort of me talking, but I'll shut up because that's sort of what I'm doing. Way too much right now. But I think it's really important to understand that it is, and I've said this before, it's very difficult to prosecute a suicide. It's very difficult to prosecute suicide. 9 times out of 10, the type of prosecution or the type of case or criminal charges that can happen if there is a suicide essentially would revolve around the idea of the suicide in fact not being a suicide, meaning it wasn't a suicide, that the person was killed, that there was some sort of a plan to have them killed. There's a lot of people in Katelyn's case, a lot of people who have been following the case, as I have, who are questioning her motive. And I'm trying really hard to dance around certain things because I have spoken to one of the police who's involved in the investigation in Georgia, and I have to be very careful with which things I am allowed to say, which things I am not allowed to say. I'm not under any kind of a gag order or anything like that, but, I don't want to get in the way of any investigation because I personally know what that's like. I'm in one. I'm speaking with police right now myself, and it's just important to kind of not get in their way. And social media and people on social media going to authorities with all kinds of accusations or theories, it can hinder an investigation. So you have to be really careful, or at least keep your ideas and your theories maybe to yourself and to social media. But I will say this regarding Katelyn and her case. A lot of people are understandably and reasonably so, in my opinion, are looking just to place blame on somebody for her death. And the important thing you need to understand when it comes to her life and her suicide, it does boil down to he said, she said in this case, because ultimately it's almost like prosecuting a murder case and you don't have the body, but you have so much evidence from this aspect, you have so much evidence from this aspect, but there's still not a body. So there's still that shred of doubt where you couldn't fully prosecute someone. So in Katelyn's case, unfortunately, she's not here. We don't have her word. We don't have, her to testify in regards to accusations that she did make about her stepfather, about her living conditions. What she did leave behind was hours and hours of footage that she live streamed on Live Me, which actually is a really, really important factor in this entire situation, because if she hadn't used the Live Me program and live broadcasted her life and put it online for all of us to see, this case probably would have just been, you know, like so many other young kids that commit suicide. Sadly, it would have happened, and, you know, case closed. They would have said that she was depressed, or, you know, she was maybe bullied or whatever it is, and then it would have been very sad. She would have been laid to rest and people would move on. With Katelyn's case, it's different because the things that she included, the things that she talked about in those videos that all of us have seen, are things that are accusations, very serious accusations against her stepfather, sexually molesting her or abusing her in some way, against her mother, feeling that she was being neglectful of Katelyn, that she was being neglectful of the fact that she was harming herself, even though, again, this is all it's all going according to Katelyn and the recordings that she made. Katelyn was hospitalized more than once for her depression, things she was going through. Her mom did do that. Her mom did take her to try to get her the help that she thought that she needed, and obviously it didn't work. I have battled chronic depression my entire life, but, you know, it's important to just understand, you guys, in this case, that we're dealing with people that live in a very, you know, they're a low-income family. It's a low-income area. There's only so much that people are aware of. Their ignorance, unfortunately, sometimes gets the best of them, and they are just not aware of any other ways to help. And I really hope I'm not, you know, just talking on and on and on here, but I wanted to give you guys some sort of an update just to kind of put this into place. When things really sad happen with people, especially a young girl who's 12 years old, that are just so beyond tragic, because she could have had such a long, hopefully, you know, meaningful life. She could have become a, you know, a counselor or a doctor or a singer, or, you know, as long as she just needed to get out of that bubble that she felt she had no escape from. And unfortunately, a lot of kids nowadays are unable to break through that because of financial reasons. And their town and their health insurance can only offer so much help. You know, we have a girl here in my town who has tried to kill herself by jumping off of a bridge 5 times now. And every single time, it's like a, you know, broken record. You see 10 cops show up and you hear her kicking and screaming, and she's obviously unstable. She obviously needs help. She's obviously in a really bad living condition, and the cops, unfortunately, all they can do is hold her for maybe 24 hours, and then, you know, she's on her own. They can't do anything else, and the family doesn't have the money to send her to a fancy psychiatric hospital to get help or treatment. So I just want to caution you guys to just kind of keep your expectations of Katelyn and the type of justice that you're seeking in this case. Try to be practical when it comes to your expectation. And again, I never met her. You never met her. I'm assuming, you know, my viewers, my fans, people that are following this story, there was just something that really touched you about her story, that inspired you, that just you wanted to find some reason how this could happen, and how it's continuing to happen with kids that are so young. And you just have to understand that in certain communities where help is, it's very hard to find it, let alone afford it. It's the world we live in right now, where we just don't have the resources to help mentally ill people properly. The people that have tons of money sometimes can get help, even though they often choose not to. But people that don't have the money or the resources, there's really not much you can do in our country. And it's a huge debate that's been going on for a really long time, is that there's so many people that are mentally ill. Like, for example, this guy that went and shot the congressman at the baseball game the other day. In terms of Katelyn's case, you guys, it's very important. And I'm saying all of this from people that I spoke with in her family yesterday, officers that are involved in the investigation, you know, her accusations against certain family members and terrible things that they were doing to her may be completely true and completely accurate. Having said that, in terms of prosecuting those individuals now, it's very difficult to do, and there's very little that police will have to go by. And that seems incredibly unfair and incredibly unjust. But unfortunately, when the law comes into it, and I've, again, with these last few days, with somebody wanting to kill me online, which I do have proof and I will share that. I'm just waiting for the right moment to make certain things public. But even I, when I went to the police, was kind of astounded at the limitations of the things that they could do or even were willing to do. Considering how serious certain accusations that she made against her family were, it's kind of disheartening when you talk with a police officer and they tell you, look, we can only do A, B, and C. No matter how depressed you are, no matter how scared you are. In terms of Katelyn and what was going on with her, you know, no matter how depressed she was or which things she was saying that were being done to her, in terms of prosecuting that, it's very limited what certain police can do. And anything short of exhuming bodies, which I've heard people talk about, and I know there are past cases, somebody who escaped from Alcatraz recently, there was a documentary where they actually exhumed a body to prove a certain man was innocent or there was somebody involved or not involved. They were able to extract DNA from a body. Even in those situations, it's criminal prosecution is very limited, especially when the victim, in this case, Katelyn, is no longer here. So it will eventually turn into a he said, she said situation. And in terms of the alleged abuse regarding the people she was living with, the neglect that I myself feel she was living, she was forced to live in a environment that was not only toxic and not supportive, but it was unsafe. Those are the kinds of things, you guys, that you should probably focus a little bit more of your energy on, as opposed to the bigger picture of getting somebody behind bars for this, because that's not a rational, logical expectation in Katelyn's case. In Katelyn's case, she did unfortunately choose to take her own life, and no matter what she said was going through her head or who she was accusing of doing certain things to her or not doing certain things to her, ultimately she did decide to take her own life. No matter if somebody is bullying you, people have that every single day. I have that every single day, where people threaten me or people call me names or they make all kinds of accusations against me that aren't true. People make up just straight up lies about me, and I'm powerless to do anything. Because when it comes to the law, there are just certain things, especially dealing with the internet, where there's just nothing that can be done. So I really hope this didn't seem like too much of a babble. I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of an update to let you know that I do have some news regarding her case. But obviously I've had to deal with other things more important. And I've been sick, but I will film that and get that up to you as soon as possible. But I have been in contact with various members of the family. I have been in touch with certain people that are on the investigation, but in Cedartown, Georgia. But again, I think if I could give you guys, following this case, one message would be to try to maintain your expectation of justice when it comes to Katelyn. Try to have a reasonable expectation of what justice in your eyes would be in this case for her. Because it's very important to understand that something so emotional as her story and something that touches so many people to the core, the emotional aspect of it is devastating, but that shouldn't equate to the justice. Just because something terrible happens doesn't mean there has to be a huge punishment. Bad things just happen. as is with 9/11 and all these other people that, you know, you create these conspiracy theories because you can't imagine something so unjust and so sad happening. So the solution and the justice that you seek has to somehow mirror the amount of pain and sadness and devastation that the tragedy was. And it's very important to just keep your expectations, in this case, realistic. Sadly, there's tons of kids that are doing this online. There's a case in Massachusetts right now, I think it's in Taunton, where a girl encouraged her boyfriend to commit suicide. My husband and I were talking about this just this morning via text message. And you're dealing with the internet in a way that the internet is almost acting as a third party, or a second party in this case. So as much as certain people I know are trying to just grasp at straws, people that Katelyn was talking to on a live stream, people that Katelyn was talking to that she may have been trying to go and visit, that she hadn't met in real life. This is just people online that maybe were even bullying her at some point, maybe that were boyfriends or not boyfriends. You know, as much as you want to point a finger at certain individuals, your expectations should be adjusted a little bit, because it was a suicide. And there's very few cases, and again, I'm very naive when it comes to this, but I don't know of many cases where somebody commits suicide and after their death, after the investigation, it is proven that it wasn't a suicide, or maybe it was something that was, someone gave her an ultimatum online, and the police will have a way of finding where this individual said, kill yourself, kill yourself. Maybe you can prosecute that, and that person can go to jail for murder, for involuntary manslaughter. But it's very difficult and it's very hard to prosecute that. So just keep an open mind when it comes to your expectations regarding Katelyn's case. There are a lot of cases like hers that the police will tell you that they are investigating it to kind of cover their own butts. And I'm not saying that this is what the police in Georgia are doing with Katelyn's case. I'm just trying to tell you guys that a lot of times when police say, we're investigating it, you know, we will look into everything, it's ongoing, it doesn't necessarily mean they're spending every waking minute focusing on this case, focusing on leads. It means that they see that there may or may not be some sort of injustice that happened here, and they'll get to it. And that's so frustrating, because I'm dealing with that myself right now. I know tons of other people who have dealt with that, and there's hundreds and thousands of cases where families have been told, we're actively investigating, you know, this case, and 20 years go by and nothing happens, nothing comes from it. So it's a bit of a it's really frustrating. It's you want to have instant gratification. You want to have instant justice in Katelyn's case. I know a lot of you guys do, and I'm just trying to have you remain a little bit more rational and logical in your expectation, and don't jump on everything or read into everything or think something means something else. Typically, when it comes to police in these situations, if they put out a statement that says, we are actively investigating this, you know, there is an active investigation open, 9 times out of 10, what that means is we have a file, we have her name on that file, we have a list of complaints from people or leads from people, and we'll get to it. It's on our desk, we'll get to it. And that's just the honest truth. Because I am dealing with that myself now. I have dealt with stalkers in my past where I've been told the same thing. They're actively investigating it. And I got super excited because I thought there was some sort of justice that was going to come down soon. And I waited and waited, and I called and called, and 10 years later, nothing happened. Which is why 9 times out of 10, people like private investigators exist, because you can't rely on the police all the time to deal with cases with the same sense of urgency that you feel you need. So that's why a lot of people become, you know, they become these like armchair psychologists, and they just try to keep these cases alive and keep this name out there, which I encourage everybody to do. I'm going to keep doing that. Just try to maintain your expectation and understand that the reality in Katelyn Davis's case is it's going to be very difficult to prosecute one single person for her death. The charges involving the accusations she made regarding abuse, neglect, those are a little bit more reasonable. Those are a little bit more practical when it comes to police actually saying, okay, we're going to go through these hours of live tapes and we're going to see if there's anything in here that we can go with, which is what I would say that I think they are doing right now. And when I say I think they are doing it right now, I don't mean that there's literally somebody sitting in front of their computer watching the hours of her live feeds. It means they're aware of the live feeds, and if somebody gets a moment and nobody else is doing anything, perhaps they'll watch them. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating for me when I went to the police this week and the cops they don't take you seriously a lot of the time, especially when it comes to things online, and that's what's frustrating because they need to. And it's really easy to kind of have your hopes dashed because you see that, cops, and again, I'm not saying anything against, our police, but, if we all had the justice that we thought we would get from authorities, a lot of people would be behind bars immediately, as opposed to cold cases and people reaching out to psychics and criminal and private investigators because the cops just are not doing what we feel needs to be done. And sometimes we get justice and sometimes we don't. So I think I'm going to wrap this up because I know it's gone a little bit of a ways. Again, thank you so much for being patient. And I also don't want to talk about the news that I have regarding Katelyn's case until I can make sure everything is accurate. So I don't want to rush it just to rush it. So I'm making this commentary to sort of just update you a little bit and give you my thoughts on the people that I spoke with, and what I'm kind of feeling regarding this whole thing is keep your expectations in a rational realm, and don't feel that just because the magnitude or the tragedy of her death is just so immense that whatever kind of justice people seek has to be just as big or measured, because we don't want to put people who are innocent behind bars. We don't want to put people that genuinely tried to help her behind bars just so we can have, we can feel that, she got some sort of justice, because I don't think that's what she would want. I think if obviously these people did things that she accused them of, obviously she would want them to be behind bars and, the key thrown away. But it's a very long, painstaking process, and it's going to take a while. This isn't the kind of thing that, a month after her, well, it's several months after her death, but even a year, you guys, it's going to be a while. And the important thing that I would just advise people to do is keep talking about it, keep her name out there, but maintain an expectation and try and understand the reality of what authorities can and can't do in suicide cases. It's a very tricky aspect of the law, but hopefully we will get some sort of justice for her. The people that loved her will find some sort of peace from this if they still don't have peace. And I'm in it, like I said, until the end. So thank you guys so much for sitting through this video and just letting me kind of talk about some things that are going on without, revealing anything or, giving away anything. I want to remain respectful of the authorities so they can do their jobs. And I will see you guys hopefully soon. And we'll continue to talk about this. Thank you guys so very much for watching.